Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Adjemi Financial Strategies in Guilford, Connecticut and Denver, Colorado.
So I was reading a story the other day about, I'm going to make up a name, Louise, and she was a school teacher, a math school teacher, and she worked for, Rhode Island. She was in the Rhode Island district. And when she was young and she started her career, she had a choice. She's a math major, very good with numbers, and she could go into industry, um, which in Massachusetts, in Connecticut, and Rhode Island, there's a lot of opportunity for math people to make some good money, especially in IT and things like that. Or she could go into be a teacher and help develop young people's minds. Now, of course, you always have to be compensated for what you do. So that led into the factor as well. And so she said, I will, to help students, I will take a lesser pay so that I can give value to them. But in the back of her mind, she was also factoring that the school was going to give her a pension. And that was very important to her. She said, I'll have an income stream and I won't have to worry about this in retirement. Well, she did her obligation. She worked for her entire working life and she retired on that pension. She took care of those children. She gave them the education that they needed and that they deserved. And lo and behold, a few years into retirement, the state reneged on their promises to her after she spent a working lifetime fulfilling her obligations, and they cut the pension. And today, she has to work a part-time job in addition to the lowered pension because they mismanaged her money in the pension fund. I'm Daniel Adjemi.
And I'm Andrew Adjemi, and you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi because people don't know what people don't know. And today's topic is the three-legged stool of retirement. The first part of the show, we've been speaking about Social Security and it being one of the legs, but yet Social Security for a lot of people is only about 40% on average of what you need in Social Security. In retirement, and as far as income goes, and the rest of the income needs to come from pensions and or personal savings. With that, Daniel, that's a story that you're talking about. That's the thing. It's not just a story; it's a true statement. It's what's happening to people and what can potentially happen to people from that standpoint. What's the rest of the story when you're talking about that? Why did Rhode Island and other companies? Why are they going bad? Why are these pensions going bad?
Well, it has to do with the models that the pensions use. And because life expectancy has been getting longer and longer, they have to earn more and more money. Then, then the way that the actuaries build the system is people have heard of a 60-40 portfolio, and it's bonds. And people just think bonds and they don't know what bonds means because there's all different types of bonds. But what that means is government US Treasury bonds, the safest, considered this in the investment world, considered the safest bonds in the world. And so those used to earn some nice interest. You could earn 6%. And then what would happen is why you build a 60-40 portfolio is when you have a crash in the markets, stocks come down and bonds go up because people take the money out of the stocks and they move it into the US government bonds safe, and that drives the value up. So you still keep collecting your interest, but the value goes up. And it's risk parity. It helps balance out the portfolio. So that's why everyone's heard of 60-40. And that's what that really means. It's government's bonds, it's safe, ultra safe assets on one side, and stocks on the other side. But because yields have gone down so low, that doesn't work quite the same way because you can't collect that interest. If you're collecting, the US 10 years paying something like a percent, um, a percent doesn't meet your requirements. So all that to say is these assumptions that they build into the positions into the pension plans are that they could collect 6 or 7% on government bonds. So they're still buying the bonds, but they're only yielding 1%. So we have longer life expectancies and lesser income. Plus, we've had a bunch of market crashes along the way, right?
Right.
Like since 2000, right?
Right. Right.
So they're way off. And so then they go out further on the risk curve and they start having hedge funds and things like that manage portions of the pensions.
Yep.
This is what actually happened in this Rhode Island situation that we're talking about. And then the in that case, the hedge funds lost them money because they went further out on the risk curve. There's that saying, like people will say to you, well, we need to make more money, so you better take on some more risk. More risk, more return. But that's not a true statement because if that was true, it wouldn't be more risk. If more risk always equaled more return, then it wouldn't be more risk.
Exactly. Exactly. So the assumptions that are that these pension plans are being invested at are wrong. People living longer and interest rates having come down. And those two things are on a crash course for problems from that. And then who's in control? Well, I need to remind you in our listening audience and let you know that you're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel and Andrew Adjemi, because people don't know what people don't know. Today's topic is a three-legged stool of retirement. We have a piece that goes along with today's show called The 7 Risks of Your Retirement. This will be an easy read piece that will help you to be able to be aware of some of those things that you may not be aware of now. Will be able to help you prepare better for your retirement. You can have that, no obligation, free of charge, by calling 800-725 7616, 800-725-7616. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Today's topic, the three-legged stool of retirement. So, Daniel, you just talked about how the pensions being one of these legs on this stool. And what a pension is the idea where you're getting a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. One of the problems to that is how the money's being invested. Some of the assumptions have changed. People living longer than they were years ago, as well as interest rates being lower than they were years ago. And then comes the aspect of who's in control of that money can be problematic. I mean, I hope everybody in our listening audience that has a pension does not have these difficulties, but we want to bring this up to people so that they know what they're dealing with. I'm thinking of one of our clients who was a teacher in the state of Connecticut here, and in the state of Connecticut, if you're a teacher, you don't have you get a pension, but you don't have any Social Security because the actual pension amount is larger than what you would have gotten from like one of the for-profit organizations that has a pension and Social Security together. Your pension is, or the pensions for the teachers are about the same as what they would have been for both of those combined. But one of our clients is very concerned that right now she's living well on her pension, but doesn't know what's going to happen to the state of Connecticut pension. And she has been able to accumulate monies in her personal savings for retirement that we have set up that is going to be able to replace that, or replace any piece of that pension or the whole pension if she needs to in her lifetime, that she is going to be able to have the stress-free retirement no matter what happens. But she recognizes that she's not in control of the state's money and the state pension plan, but has control over her own money, which is a good thing. Speak to that, please.
Yeah, so you can build your own pension. And there's a few different ways to do it. So the way that a pension works, and the reason, a lot of our listening audience may have a pension because that used to be a big thing. Like companies, they want you to work for them, they give you a pension. And then you knew you had this leg of the stool that was there. When you retired, it was incentive for you to work for this company, do a good job for this company, and then when you retire, they took care of you. But again, with those assumptions we talked about, it makes it harder for the corporations because the corporations have all the risk. So if the assets in the pension do not meet the requirements for the pension, the corporation has to fund the difference. So that can be huge amounts of monies if they're off on their assumptions, and that can bankrupt a corporation. This was one of the big problems with GM back in the great financial crisis, and why the government had to bail them out was because they didn't want all the pensioners to lose their pensions. And so that was it was one of the weirdest bankruptcies ever in history, was because they didn't want all the pensioners to lose that money. But so that's why a lot of corporations have went from the old-fashioned way of a pension and giving you that leg to your retirement to a defined benefit where they tell you, you do this, you get this benefit, a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
To defined contribution, which means they tell you you can invest in a 401k. That's what a 401k, 403b, 457 is. You invest in that and we will match. We'll give you X amount of money to match you. But there's no lifetime payment. There's no guarantee. It puts all the risk on the employee now. And the investment decisions on the employee, which can be a good thing if you know what you're doing. But if you don't have a degree in that, and you don't spend all your waking hours reading books on how to do it, then it becomes a little bit more problematic because and they limit you to what you're able to invest in. And that's why the government has said that typically after 59 and a half, you're able to roll these things into a self-directed account, which opens up the universe of options where you can start investing in things for mature people, for people who are serious about their retirements, compared to what younger people who are trying to build their wealth would do.
Exactly. Good explanation, Daniel. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. We're going to need to be able to take a break now. Our today's topic is the three-legged stool of retirement. We've spoken about Social Security being one of those legs. We've spoken about pensions, and we need to talk about, as Daniel's transitioning into the 401k and IRA and 457 and other personal savings from that aspect. And we'll talk about that when we come back. But I want to let you know that we have a companion piece to go along with today's show, which is called The 7 Risks of Retirement. You can have that by calling 800-725-7616. We also have a book for the next 5 callers to 800-725-7616. The book is called The Retirement Income Story by David J. Scranton, a founder of the Retirement Income Store. And we have this book available for you, easy read book, free of charge, by calling 800-725-7616 to the next 5 callers. Call now.
I'm David Scranton, founder of the Retirement Income Store. If you're in or near retirement, are you certain you have the right retirement plan in place? Do you want to help ensure your nest egg will last you all throughout retirement? Take our retirement review quiz and find out in 5 minutes or less if you're doing everything you can to achieve a more successful retirement.
Visit us online at adjemi.com. That's AGEMY.com.